Lately, I've been a bit obsessed, not just watching athletics, but studying it. You see, after the Paris Olympics, I found myself going down rabbit holes about training regimens, comeback stories, the way athletes carry defeat and still show up for the next race. At first, it was a hobby, but if I'm honest, it's become a system, a way for me to understand resilience, consistency, and success that I can translate into my own entrepreneurial journey. Do you aspire to an uncomplicated and fulfilling way of life? I'm Diane Squires, aka Deanne. That's what all my friends call me. I'm an island woman living on the island of Barbados and walking my path to a big and simple life. Walk with me and learn with me. Welcome to the Island Woman Podcast. I had never heard of Julien Alfred before Paris 2024, but I knew this St. Lucian powerhouse did not just come out of nowhere to win a gold medal. There had to be a process to get her there. There must have been losses and setbacks, and I wanted to dig into the path of athletes like her to understand what it took to get to the big achievements and how they handled obstacles on their way to the top. When you watch outstanding Caribbean athletes like Shelley-Ann, Fraser-Pryce, or like Julien Alfred, you see brilliance on the track. But behind that brilliance is a structure, coaches, teammates, nutrition, recovery, relentless training, and beyond that, the inner work to cultivate a mindset of excellence and the willingness to fail in public, to take injuries in stride, to know that dominance comes in arcs and not straight lines. And entrepreneurship feels so similar. Let me tell you, we celebrate the shiny milestones, a new client, a big project, a higher profit. But the real work is in the daily training, the invisible discipline, the systems, and the inner voice that keeps you showing up. Your failures can sometimes be too embarrassing to talk about, but you have to learn from them. And then you have to apply that learning to future endeavors in your pursuit of success. But now here's where the parallel gets a little complicated, especially for us here in the Caribbean, because many of us were raised in post colonial societies where we were schooled to be cogs in the wheel of enterprise, not to build enterprise. So when we step into entrepreneurship, the whole thing feels kind of foreign. The risks feel heavier, and failure feels like a guilty verdict and not just a temporary setback. That conditioning doesn't disappear overnight, so it turns up in how we talk to ourselves, how we hesitate, and how we measure our progress. But our Caribbean athletes remind us that failure isn't the end of the story. In 2011, the great Usain Bolt was disqualified from the men's 100 meters in the World Championships because of a false start. But he came back in 2012 to win both the 100 meters and the 200 meters at the Olympics, the biggest stage of all, for the second time in his career. A false start doesn't erase your years of training, and an injury doesn't mean your career is finished. So, for example, in 2016, Shelley-Ann Fraser-Pryce had a toe injury, but she still went on to win bronze in the 100 meters and silver in the 4x100 relays. She even had a cesarean section to have her son in 2017, but she returned to training. And by 2019, she was back on the world championship stage as the 100-meter gold medal winner. She certainly had her setbacks, and I'm sure many people thought at some point she was done. But then she came back faster and wiser. Now, none of this is easy, but it really does set a blueprint for how we as Caribbean entrepreneurs can see stumbles and glitches along the way as just that, stumbles and glitches, but not the whole story. Now, I'm not preaching going down with a sinking ship, but just to know that when you need to pivot, to start over, to go back to employment, to do whatever is needed to keep that goal and dream alive, that's just part of the process, a part of the learning. Let's talk now about support system, the culture around the enterprise. And let me go back to athletics for a second here, because the Jamaica Boys and Girls Champs for high school athletes, that is now an internationally acclaimed pinnacle for identifying star athletes, no matter their class or creed. Yes, there are similar championships around the Caribbean, but for Jamaica, this is a premier event. The culture of track and field in Jamaican society is just next level. So it's not just an event for schools to gain bragging rights or for parents to cheer on their children. It's a hot ticket for thousands of Jamaicans who love track and field and follow the up and coming stars. Beyond high school, star athletes can be picked up by world class track clubs in Jamaica. They can train at home to dominate globally. Government and private support, including international sponsorships through brands like Puma, help to fuel this level of training and support. And yes, this system does have its shortcomings, but nonetheless, it has helped to catapult many Jamaicans successfully onto the world stage. Could this model provide a blueprint for enterprise building in the region where talent, national pride, and resources combine for local and global impact? I think so. So here's my thought process. What if we could begin to treat entrepreneurship the way athletes treat training? What if we gave ourselves coaches and mentors instead of just trying to do it all alone? What if we built systems around our businesses the way athletes build systems around their performance? What if we trained our minds to expect setbacks and to treat them not as shame, but as signals to adjust, to recover, and return stronger? And what if our culture accepted not only employability, but entrepreneurship? If our region is to grow, maybe this is a way. Maybe the next leap in Caribbean entrepreneurship, it doesn't just come from raw talent, but from building a culture of training, resilience, and excellence, just like our athletes have done on the world stage. Because just like on the track, in business, the real victory is learning to run your own race. All right, that's it for now. If you've made it to the end of this episode with me, I thank you so much for taking the time. If you liked it, share it with a friend or leave a comment or just do both. And if you watch this on YouTube, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Remember to click the bell icon to get notified every time a new episode goes live. This has been episode 7, season 2 of the Island Woman podcast. And I'm your Island Woman, Diane Squires, aka Deanne. Until next time, peace.